Oxfords, not Broads. Who would have thought? I had no idea.
Going to need a pair of shoes to go with your suit. An Oxford is any formal shoe with open lacing. This additional decorative piece is called broguing.
Oxford's not brogues.
Words to live by.
Welcome back to Movie Monday, Movie Guns Review. I know you're watching these movies just like I am, seeing the various firearms, gear, cars, gadgets, whatever that are in these movies, and you're like, well, why did production decide to do that? Is this a good choice? Is it just for the cool factor? Did they put the cheat code in for unlimited ammo? Because it surely does seem that way. Well, I'm a big movie buff, so I enjoy watching movies, and I'm on the same page with you guys. So today's movie is kind of special because it's a movie that came out at a time where James Bond was right at peak with Daniel Craig, and it was kind of a spin-off of that. In a way, it is the spy thriller action comedy Kingsman: The Secret Service. Came out in 2014. Colin Firth, Taron Egerton, Mark Strong. He does amazing work, Mark, by the way, especially in the second movie. Sammy J. All these people that we know and love, and they're in this movie, and they do a phenomenal job of just encompassing a gentleman spy network, this private organization that helps save the world. Now, if you haven't seen the movie yet, really the synopsis is you have this organization based in the UK, but it's a global organization that's for good, making sure that the world doesn't collapse from all the evil around it, from various evil henchmen and their leaders that pop up. Sammy J is one of these evil leaders who thinks that the world is suffering from a virus, and he wants to get rid of all of the lower class, essentially, and then put all the rich people with these microchips in them to make sure that they survive, because he's handing out all these free SIM cards to go in the phones, and then the phones can be turned into these devices that make people go crazy and just attack each other, and that'll be a way to eradicate the population, lowering the population numbers. It's a weird theory, but you know, that is the evil plan that he has, and of course now this Kingsman organization is going to save the day. A lot of fun scenes in this movie, so go watch it for sure, because it does kind of take a lot of stuff like grenade lighters and umbrellas that are bulletproof, and they have shotgun shells that are built into the handle of the umbrella, and it's kind of neat. They take a lot of stuff from the 007, James Bond, other spy thrillers, and it's kind of turned it into this. This is actually based on a comic book series, so it's already kind of taking some of the inspiration from that and running with it. The characters are really cool. They're all dressed up really nice, and of course the Oxfords, not Broads thing is a big deal. We see throughout the movie, and it's kind of a secret code there as well. Without further ado though, let's talk about the guns in this movie. We actually start off with a couple of really interesting firearms right off the bat in the intro. We have an AK-47 and then the RPG-7. There's kind of a fun intro on a mission. These guys from the Kingsman are on a mission, diving in there. The first thing I noticed was MP5 SDs, and they actually had 20 rounders on their tactical vests when they were in this interrogation room there, and the guy blows up and one of the guys has to sacrifice themselves. But more often than not, you see the Kingsman and the various gentlemen who are in the organization use the TT 7.62 by 25 millimeter. Tokarev is a very famous Russian design. It's been copied in China and probably other places as well. This one is modified with a 10-round magazine. You see them carrying this throughout the movie, all of them. All the agents have these on them, and it has a modified 12 gauge, appears to be 12 gauge shotgun shell adapter on the bottom there, which is interesting because these don't have rails typically, so having a 12 gauge modified on there was the whole thing. They were like, oh, if there's a messy situation, use the modified 12 gauge shell on the attachment. And they also have a suppressor that's designed for this gun as well. So it's kind of an interesting choice for British Secret Service, for a better word, to be using this. But you see this handgun a ton throughout the movie, a lot of reloads. They do pretty well with the reloads overall in this movie, I think, maybe except for the bad guys. The bad guys go a little crazy, but you do see some good magazine reloads from especially like this Tokarev. Now the second most popular handgun that you see throughout this whole movie, some of the bad guys use it, some of the good guys pick it up as well, is actually a couple of different HK handguns. So you have the H&K Heckler & Koch P30. Sammy J has that one at one point, even though he's scared of blood. And then the Heckler & Koch USP Compact. A lot of the bad guys have this one, and of course you see the good guys pick this up off of them as well throughout the movie. At one point in the beginning there, the other agent goes in and he picks those off of a couple of the guards there, and then that lady comes in with her knife feet and gives them the slice and dice straight down the middle, which was kind of fun to see. But that's what makes this a spy comedy. Knife Legs actually pops out with a Glock 26 at one point towards the end of the movie, right before her big final fight scene. She like jumps through some glass and has this Glock 26, unloading it. And it's kind of neat to have that. It's kind of an interesting choice because I have not seen her had a gun anywhere in this entire movie, but apparently she has a Glock 26 on her. The only other Glock in this movie, I know it's surprising, Glock 17, the princess's bodyguards go and help to try to defend her, and they get all chopped and diced up by the knife foot lady. So that's kind of their demise. But Glock 17, I'm sure the guards for any royalty that's probably pretty close to what they'd be carrying. Taron Egerton plays Eggsy.
I'll be right back.
So he has a lot of enemies. One of the guys is in a bar, he gets in a big fight, and then I think it's his dad or his uncle or something who's like dating his mom, so that's a whole thing as well. That's a terrible choice in men, but whatever. But the Smith & Wesson Model 36, this punk pulls one of those out and tries to take out one of the spies there. I think it was actually Colin Firth, who's Harry Hart. So he tries to take him out with his revolver, does not succeed. Of course, everyone gets beat up, hospitalized, the whole thing. Speaking of revolvers, I guess we should talk about the best scene in the movie. You know what this is? The church scene. All right, so the church scene, I remember watching this all these years ago and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So Sammy J wants to test out on this church with a bunch of crazies in it. Okay, so he wants to test out this cell phone thing, and he's like, do we have enough cell phones who have the new chip in it, the new SIM card, they can go and activate, make them go crazy and try to kill each other, right? So of course, Harry is in this church trying to figure out what's going on. He has a tip that there's something going on at this church. Maybe it will lead to Sammy J trying to figure out how to defeat him and his whole organization. Well, they're in the church, thing goes on, they just go crazy, people make weapons out of anything, and there's a bunch of really cool guns that pop up, and they're like the most variety of guns are in this church scene. So there's like a Smith & Wesson Model 66. You see it a couple times. I think at one point Harry used it to like bash someone because it's got a big heavy wooden grip on the end. You of course have the Beretta 92FS. I have one, I love it. I also have a couple of revolvers too that are similar to the Smith & Wesson, but not the exact same. But the Beretta 92FS is obviously very famous, and you've seen it in a couple of different movies where they take the slide off and then use the frame. I don't know why they picked this one to do that with, I guess because it's just all aluminum frame and all that, but they take the slide off, they have the frame, and he's using it after he unloads the mag to go and just jab at people, and it's just, I've seen that a couple of times in a few different movies, and maybe they'll pop up in Movie Monday here, but the 92FS was in that church scene as well. I think even the H&K USP Compact pops in that church throughout that whole fight scene. Then of course Harry walks out of the church, and then there's the big shocker, so spoiler alert, but Samuel Jackson is out there with his H&K, the P30 there, and just was like, I'm done talking with you, and just pops Harry right in the eye. Harry's down, and it's like, whew, that was wild. And of course, Eggsy's like super mad, and you got Merlin over there who is very upset. Everyone's just like, oh, Harry's down, and it was definitely an emotional scene. And then the next movie you'll see there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens in the next one, so if you haven't seen the second one out, that's the sequel, so definitely go check that out. The old Mossberg 500 Cruiser, that's right, they had a chainsaw grip at one point. Remember that thing back in the day? It was like a chainsaw grip. This one had just the pistol grip, no stock, right? So that was a whole deal. That showed up in the church scene as well. I almost forgot about that one. It's in the back there, but it'd be funny to see a chainsaw in the movie. Like, where would you remember the zombie one they had? I had the zombie 500, I still do, but I don't have the chainsaw with the grip and everything, like I think called like the saw, whatever it was. It's just an interesting design for a shotgun. I guess it's a standoff device, but I had the spike standoff on the end there. But that Cruiser is very famous for the different configurations it has, and that's in that church scene for sure. No first form today, although that is my jam recently, but I've been just kind of hitting some coffee tonight. It's kind of late actually. North Carolina had its first good snowfall in like 4 or 5 years, honestly. Like, we actually had like a few inches, 6 inches in some places. So the kids were out like half of last week because we have one snowplow for the whole county. So North Carolina was out. So the kids have been going absolutely crazy. But this week it should be warmer, so that's good. So yeah, First Form, love the stuff. Been pretty much hooked on it recently. The meat sticks are great. I'll drop a link down below. That's the stuff. That's my jam for snacks and all that nowadays. I'm gonna get more in here next month. Just kind of keep testing a lot of the stuff they have in the whole product portfolio. But good group of guys, all made in the USA. M4s. All right, so M4A1, that is the go-to rifle for training for all the spies. You see that throughout the middle of the movie as they're going through the whole group and they're kind of whittling down who's going to be the #1 spy. It ends up being like the 2 they pick, right? And that third guy is like the bad guy in the end, basically. It's kind of fun to kind of see that being the main one. It's very simple. It's a simple rifle. I mean, you see that movie a lot with a flat top, a front sight there. I think a lot of the special forces and security services over in the UK actually use that type of platform anyways. Real basic, flat top, maybe throw an optic on there, whatever it is. But that's pretty standard stuff for an AR. Until you get to Merlin. So Merlin, they fly into the snow base, which is a good segue into the snow base scene at the very end, because there is a ton of really cool firearms in this snow base for a lot of the bad guys and a lot of what Eggsy and Merlin pick up. So Merlin brings his own rifle, and Eggsy's like, "Can I have that one?" And Merlin's like, "No, this one's mine." Well, it turns out what he has is actually an H&K HK416D, rocking like a PMag, and he just has a great time slinging that thing around, and he's just very proud of it, and rightfully so. I mean, that's a nice AR, and I think he's pretty proud of that one. So Eggsy did not get to shoot that one, but he's like, "You can get your own." So first thing I noticed in the snow base, of course you have like heat-seeking missiles and all that stuff. That's a big deal, big part of the whole story there. But they had scars. So a lot of the bad guys in the snow base all running around with whiteout scars with like PMags, right? So they had the FN Scar L rocking that, and even like Eggsy picks it up, and a bunch of other soldiers are running around, and that was one of the main rifles you see throughout the whole third act of this movie was those scars. But you also see whited out BNT. So there's the BNT APC-9, which is actually really cool to see rocking in a movie, because you just don't see those very often. I got to shoot some of those back over at SHOT Show recently at the range day, and B&T makes some great stuff. And then of course the MP5K pops up, whited out once again, right? So the MP5K, proper bad guy gun, they whited them out with this one. Overall, they looked really good for the movie. Now what's even weirder about these MP5Ks is a couple of scenes, it's not a red dot on top. They have what looks like a sight on top, but they have a light. It's like a pistol mounted light that they flipped upside down and hooked onto the rail on top for practical effects or whatever it is. But a couple of guys had the light turned on with these gun scenes. They're holding the MP5K with this light on top. No sight. I mean, you're blocking the sight at that point with the rail on there, with the clamp on there, but they put the light on there instead of the red dot. I thought that was fascinating to do, but that's a choice. Last but not least, sniper rifles. Gotta love a good sniper rifle. They're not really used that long a distance. I think in one little scene they're used for sniper, actually like sniping a balloon for training, but really one of them comes out and it's like, oh, look at this powerful round that can punch holes through the bulletproof umbrella that Eggsy has, and that was kind of a big scene for the bad guys there. But there's a few different rifles in here. So starting in the armory at Kingsman's HQ, you have the Accuracy International AX308. You have a few of those hanging on the walls, as well as a bunch of other gadgets and different firearms. So you can imagine that, of course, 308. Then you also have the Accuracy International AX50. So you got the 50 out, which of course is 50 BMG. That's also used kind of right in the middle of the movie, right where they're training, and they go and use that rifle to pop that balloon from a sniper position for training, to kind of narrow down again those spies to get to the last two there. This last one was the one that punched holes in the umbrella. I actually had no idea what this brand was. I'd never heard of it, but it's called a Blazer Tactical 2, and that one in the movie actually had a suppressor on it for that guard that was firing it, and of course 338 Lapua Magnum, right? So big enough round to probably punch through any of that body armor. That's it, apart from a few odds and ends. What a fun movie though. I have watched that movie probably, dare I say, like 4 or 5 times since it came out. We saw it in theaters. I miss a good movie theater experience It's a shame that there's no good movies anymore. But that's why we have movies from back then. So check out Kingsman. It's great. I think, 2014, so it's just turned 10 last year, but it holds up. It really does. It's some good scenes to it. The CGI is great. I don't know, we need to study why CGI has gotten so bad. It's kind of crazy. Because CGI was great, some fun, unique things with heads exploding and colors and all that. So thanks so much for tuning into Movie Monday. Check that movie out. As always, train hard, guys. You never know what's coming. Take care of the ones you love, those are the ones that matter, and we'll see you next Monday for a new movie. Have a good one.